Whereas with a freelance developer, you set your own rate. So whatever you want to charge, you can charge. Obviously within reason. You're not going to be setting $1,000 rates right out of the gate, but it's definitely something that you have control of. You can set your own hours, so you can work as much or as little as you want. Again, within reason. Obviously, we all have our standard of living, and you definitely want to set your rate, your hours in accordance with that. Um, you work remote, so you can work anywhere in the world. If you decide you want to move, across the country, the only thing that's going to, change is the time zone that you're in. But yeah, working remotely is absolutely an option for you, or rather, working remote is the option for you. So definitely gives you some freedom there. You can work in any stack that you choose. So again, any sort of technologies that you want to use as a freelancer, you're welcome to it. Definitely want to pick technologies that are sort of in demand or being used. But I definitely would say that there is some latitude there as far as what you can sort of learn and what you can sort of do for a client. Easy to switch technologies. Your stack is in less demand. So if you know do find that you're getting less and less work with the stack that you're learning, first you can very easily see that. You can sort of see that the rate of work that you're getting is going down, and you can kind of pivot and learn a different technology if you need to. Um, but yeah, if you can switch technologies, you can sort of pivot when you sort of see sort of a dip in your activity. Um, and again, easier to determine what skills are needed in the marketplace, because you are sort of working 40 hours a week or however many hours a week that you're working, sort of looking for work. You're more cognizant of what is out there. So if you see a rise in a certain technology, if you see a rise in a certain framework, you'll see that you can sort of pivot and cater your freelancing to that technology, or whatever that um, space is that's growing or needs freelancers. That's definitely something that you can sort of pivot to as well. Work-life balance is up to you. So if you want to work, if you're a workaholic and you like put it in 50, 60 hours a week, and putting your nose to the grindstone, that's something you can absolutely do. That's definitely an option for you. And if you want to get that sort of coveted 30-hour work week, that's something you can do as well. And have that 30 hours of excuse me, you can have that 30 hours a work week, and sort of do with your time what you will. If you want to take it a vacation, that's that you can do it. You don't need a boss telling you whether you can or you're not. You manage your clients, and you find a time that works for you, and for whoever else you're taking with you. Barrier to entry is lower. So again, there are a lot of companies out there that have very stringent um, requirements as far as who they'll hire as a developer. A lot of companies want several years of experience. Obviously, coming out of school or boot camp or self-study, that isn't something that you would have. Um, some jobs require a 4-year degree. So again, those out of boot camp or self-study won't necessarily have that as well. So um, as a freelancer, all you ultimately need is a strong portfolio and the ability to sell yourself, and you can have a great deal of success in the field. Um, so it definitely makes it easier for those that sort of are getting out of boot camp or school or whatever, into freelancing. That's actually part of the reason why I got into freelancing. Is I was applying to jobs, I got interviews, and then when it came down to it, I was told ultimately, you don't have experience. You don't have experience. You don't have experience. And you'll hear that quite a bit if you do sort of look for jobs in the traditional sort of work salaried role. But as a freelancer, as long as you have projects that reflect your skills, you're able to sell yourself. You have prior work that sort of reflects what you can do and the quality of your work. You'll have a much easier time sort of finding roles or finding sort of clients and securing them. So again, that's something to sort of take into account as well. Barrier entry is much lower. And here we go. So who should opt in as a who should opt in for a career as a freelancer? So web development is a career that is far around skill sets and wide as well. Many different roles and responsibilities. So again, there's a lot of different responsibilities that you have. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, so there's a lot of different skill sets and different roles and responsibilities. A lot of it's about being flexible. Often as a freelancer, even if you do have a stack that you're working in or set of technologies that you like to use, you may be taking over a project from another developer, and they might be leveraging one or two technologies in the project that you're not completely familiar with. So that's something to take into consideration as well, to sort of make sure that you are cognizant of that fact and to sort of take the steps necessary to learn those technologies and properly implement them in the project that you're working on. Again, solid programming skills, be knowledgeable in the stack, and be able to understand clients' needs and provide value to their projects in a timely manner. So you have to have strong programming skills, know a stack, whatever that stack is, and definitely understand the client's needs, understand what they're asking for in a project, sort of the scope of their project, what the needs are in their project. Depending on the project that you're working on, a client might give you a very detailed list of what they want from a project. They might just say, I want it to look like this site. I've definitely gotten that before. So you'll definitely have different levels of sort of interaction with the client and different requirements of a project from a client. So it's definitely good to understand what they're looking for out of their project, and also understanding what timetable they're sort of working with. That's one of the things I always ask is, when do you need this done? Because it's something that it's very important to understand, what their expectations are as far as that goes. Freelancing is a career that requires constant learning with a prejudice to experience. Even as a freelancer that has multiple years of experience is going to sort of land positions easier than someone just starting out. But as long as you are, sort of diligent, take the steps necessary to sort of secure clients, have a strong portfolio, have the ability to have to sell yourself, you shouldn't have too much difficulty sort of finding work. But it does require constant learning. Again, whether it's your stack that you're sort of proficient in, whether it's the technologies that you're learning that might be part of a project that you're working on that you're not quite familiar with, that's also something that you should sort of be aware of. But yeah, freelancing requires constant learning, and the more experience you have, the better. Again, freelance careers do require proficiency around how projects would be translated into business decisions. Having an understanding of sort of the business world isn't critical, but as someone who does come from a business background, it definitely is something that makes it easier for me to sell myself to clients, because I understand their needs. I understand sort of what time crunch they're under. I understand what clients they serve. I understand things from a business from a business perspective as well as a developer perspective. So not only can I give sort of accurate estimates to when projects will be done, how hard it would be to implement features, I can also sort of look at it from their end and see what value these features may or may not bring to their project, and decide accordingly if certain features are a priority or not a priority. So again, yeah, so business with business message, troubleshooting. Troubleshooting's big. Troubleshooting is very big. As a developer, you're going to constantly be looking, constantly Googling errors, going to Stack Overflow, looking for different ways to figure out what's wrong with your project, what's wrong with when things break on your project. So knowing how to troubleshoot, knowing how to read documentation, knowing how to find your answers is absolutely key and critical, even more so than working in a salary position, since you'll largely be, on your own. You won't have a coworker or a manager or anything like that to sort of ping and get to look at your code. So that's absolutely critical, is the ability to troubleshoot and sort of find your own answers when things sort of break. And lastly, someone who's flexible around skill sets and comfortable with crossing over to other areas and technologies. Sort of touched on it before, but yeah, definitely being flexible. Learning different technologies that are part of projects that you're working with. Someone who works mainly in the JavaScript space, I often see libraries and things that I'm not 100% familiar with, and when that happens, you just kind of have to learn on the fly. You read the documentation, you toy around with the code, you sort of see how it works, and you try to find a solution to the problems that you have, and try to learn those technologies as best you can for the scope of your project.